Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Peter Sapienza on behalf of past and present members of Division 28 and 11 2nd Street. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for honoring our fallen brother, Roy Chelsen, today. On my very first day assigned to 28, I only worked one tour here as a covering officer, and the captain was squaring me away on some stuff, and he got me upstairs and said, "Are you nervous in the front seat? Do you get skittish at all?" I said, "No, I'm okay, I think." He goes, "Well, good, because we put you in Roy Chelsen's groups." And about an hour later, I knew what he was talking about. We had a box on fire, third due on 9th Street and 1st Avenue, and Roy got us in there first due, and by a lot. So it turned out to be a 1092, and I get back on the rig, you know, and I just looked at him and I said, "Can you do that all the time?" And he looked at me with that, you know, Roy look like, "Yeah." So I said, "This is a marriage made in heaven between you and I." But it wasn't really all just gravy. Let me just go to this part. I mean, I think that Roy, he missed his calling. He could have been an IndyCar driver, or at least a getaway man. For 7 years we sat in the front seat together, and that's how I called it. We just sat in the front seat together. He never ran a red light, he never drove dangerously, he never got upset with a cab, he never got frustrated. He knew when the schools were getting out, when the clubs were getting out, he was in the zone, he just got you there first. And I would have to explain at the command post to the second and third due officers, like, "Oh, we were just getting a meal, or we were in a neighborhood, and we weren't, you just beat everybody else in." And I'm sure you've heard about that from a lot of other chauffeurs and stuff like that, but you know what? They were second best. Roy was the best. But with that came some downsides. A couple years after 9/11, we were getting some pretty credible reports that were coming through the office that there was an imminent attack scheduled, and it was going to be the subway system, everyone thought, and they were thinking about sarin gas, and everyone, you know, tensions were running really high. So we get a run for Houston and 2nd Street subway for numerous people overcome at rush hour, and of course Roy gets me in first due. All right, nobody's a third due box, so, you know, putting on my mask and I'm stepping out and I roll my eyes at Roy, like, "Are you kidding?" And he looks at me and he says to me, he goes, "Lou, do you even know what burnt almonds smell like?" And as I'm stepping down, I realized I didn't, you know? So as I'm going down the subway station, I flash Roy the finger. And he's just laughing at me the whole time, you know? So again, it was a 9-2, thank God, and I come up and I'm putting my mask away. And he goes, "Don't worry, Luke, tomorrow we'll go to the pet store and we'll get you a canary." I mean, that's how Roy was. And that was our relationship up there. It was, if he saw an opening, he took the shot, and I appreciated that. Roy was the best person to tell your troubles to, you know. I would get in the ring and say, "Roy, you know, my marriage is falling apart. I have a son, and I'm broke, and my hair's falling out, and my ass is getting too big." And he would just look at you and go, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." You know? Like, he was a tough guy. He didn't want to hear your bullshit crap. So every day in the course of the tour, I would want to go to get a coffee run because I'm a little bit of a caffeine junkie. So I would say, "Well, let's go pull over by Starbucks for me," and he would just say, "No, we got stuff to do at the firehouse," and drive by. I mean, so I realized that maybe if I said I wanted something in Starbucks that we didn't have at the firehouse, that maybe he might stop, like cut me in some slack. So I'm like, "Roy, let's go to Starbucks, I want to get a scone." And he goes, "With that ass, you want a scone?" And he goes, "You know," he said, "I got a lot of stuff to do at the firehouse." And he built all of these cubby holes by himself. He also was able to get the bumper and a fender from our old apparatus, which was destroyed on 9/11. And he took that home, and on his own time, he cut crucifixes out of it for each and every member. He loved this place. Roy was really proud of his Viking heritage, and me being Italian, I'm very proud of my Italian heritage, but I'm much smaller than Roy. And he would bring up the Vikings, and I couldn't really bring up World War II because the Italians didn't do very well. So I would bring up the Roman Empire. You know, so Roy would say to me, you know why you Italians never invaded, you know, I'm not quite sure, is it from Finland or Norway? Norway. I said, he goes, you know why you Italians never invaded Norway? And I was like, you know, I took the bait. I'm like, what? He goes, when you landed on our shores, you forfeit nothing to Italians, but he didn't use the word Italians. I got off the boat, and you saw my 6'2" relatives running down the hills with the Viking horns and a hat and swords, and your Italian commander said, get back on the boat, Angelo. Now, I never looked it up, but I think it's probably factual. I mean, Roy was the type of guy that could hold up the apparatus and sleep under it. You know, when he got sick, when we first got the word that Roy got sick, we were all in the kitchen, and we just said to ourselves, like, God, what chance do we have if Roy got sick? What chance do we have, what chance do us mortals have that Roy got sick? But he did. After he was diagnosed, he wanted to do some work on his house, the house that he loved, and a place that I'm really sure that he went to and found solace and peace, and he loved going home to church and loved just tinkering with his house. And he asked a bunch of us, or we volunteered to go up there and help him in his house. So we all go up, you know, and he immediately splits us into skilled and unskilled labor. And he said to me, Lou, what can you do? I said, well, I'm pretty funny. And he handed me a shovel. And then he had me and this other unskilled laborer, Gary Delarava, who was also pretty funny, dig out boulders out of his yard to make a wall in front of his house. I mean, we're not talking rocks, we're talking boulders. He gave me a stick, and I think Gary had a shovel, and most of you young people don't know this, but it's like Sergeant York. He was like top land, and we were digging out boulders to make bottom land. And I'm like 50 years old going, you have to be, are you serious? I shouldn't believe I was like I did tile work or something. But I didn't. When I had about 26 years on the job, I called up Roy. Roy was sick now. And I said, Roy, I want to do my 20-year meal. And it's really important to me if you're able to go, if you feel well enough. So him and I figured out a date where in between treatments he would feel well enough to come down for my meal. I told him it would be important to me if he was able to do it. If not, I understood, but I really would like him if he could make it. So the day of the meal, I show up with all these bags, and Roy's already here. And I takes them out of my hand and he goes, look, give me those, you're just gonna screw it up. So I went in the kitchen and he showed me his trusty meat thermometer that he loved, that digital thing he was waving around for months. And he made the entire meal. And he just like called me down when it was done. And I mean, the guy was sick. And he drove 100 miles to do that for me. Roy and I sat in the front seat for 5 years after 9/11. He never talked about it. Not once. Never. But I knew. We all knew. And someday, everyone will know. There are many people in this room who are alive today because of Roy, and they have children today because of Roy, and their children will have children because of Roy. I look at Roy as a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, no different than a man who stormed the beaches of Normandy and attacked the pillbox all by himself to save his platoon. Roy was in the first wave in the war on terrorism. He was right there in the front when the first shots were being fired, the shots that were heard around the world, and he was a hero. Now, this is just something for me to Roy, and I might not be able to get through it, but I'll try. When 9/11 happened, I was on vacation in Italy, and I was unable to get to the States for 7 days, not being able to speak or read the language, and in no way of getting information back from the United States. The only thing I was sure was that Fireman Keogh from Engine 28 was killed, because in every newspaper in Europe had a picture of Michael Keogh running up the stairs with a hose, and under the caption I had someone translate it for me, and it said, "Hero firefighter rushes to his death." Now Mike Keogh's in the room here today, and he wasn't killed, nor was anybody in 28 that day, because of Roy. As soon as the plane landed, I raced to the firehouse, as we all did, except this was 7 days later.